ready to talk about RUS DLT grants and Zoom rooms.
Let's do
As
it.
are we. Let me start sharing my screen. So we're going to start with an overview of the RUS DLT grant, and then we're going to see some fabulous demos of technologies that can align with this grant program. I'm going to go ahead and get started. First, I just want to introduce you to the Zoom Grant Assistance resource. This is a free resource available to Zoom's customers in education, healthcare, and government. We are here to try to find funding opportunities for you, funding opportunities that align with your organization and your initiatives and goals. We try to find things that you would be competitive for. We do a lot of education like this on funding programs. And we can help you come up potentially with a funding strategy depending on what you're looking to do. If there is a grant that you're looking to pursue, our team can be as involved in the process as you all like. We offer very comprehensive grant management support throughout your application process. We can help you find a grant writer. I know a lot of you might have internal grant staff, but I'm sure they have a lot on their plate. So if we can help connect you with a grant writing resource, we are more than happy to do that. And we also offer post-award implementation support. So with some of these grants, there's a lot of paperwork you have to do afterwards. If we can help you just figure out the paperwork, help with your reimbursements requests, we are available for that as well. Awesome. So I'm going to start getting into this grant program that you're all here, hopefully, to learn about. It's a grant from the USDA, from their Rural Utility Service, and it's a grant for distance learning and telemedicine. We often call this grant RUS DLT, or just DLT for short, because it is quite a mouthful to try to say that full name. So this is a very long-standing grant program from the USDA. It's been around since the 90s. It's all about funding for interactive, real-time distance learning or telemedicine projects that are meant to expand services in rural communities. So giving rural residents access to educational resources and healthcare services that they really might have a hard time accessing in their rural communities. This is typically an annual grant, so it usually comes out every year, and it's very technology focused. So some of you who might be familiar with grants, some grants will be really, really broad in what you can get, and this grant is really focused on interactive technology that facilitates educational experiences and, again, telemedicine experiences. Another really unique thing about this grant is almost any type of organization can apply. And why this is so interesting is it's very flexible in terms of the partnerships you all can have. So you can apply on your own, but you can also work with other organizations, and you don't have to have a formal partnership with these organizations in order to work with them on this grant. It could be quite informal. It could be a new partnership. If somebody wants to work with you on one of these projects, in all likelihood, you probably will be able to work together. There's just a few small exceptions. And another great thing about this program, as I said, it's been around for a very long time. It's a very consistent and reliable source of funding. And this program actually loves to fund the same groups time and time again. So it's not like a lot of other grants where once you're funded, you probably can't get funded again for a certain number of years. They actually love to fund, the same groups who have experience with this grant, who know how to do rural outreach really effectively. They don't want you duplicating your project. So it does have to be a separate project where maybe you're introducing new services, new information, or you're trying to reach out to new communities that you didn't contact in your prior application. But they do love to fund, the same groups again and see your influence grow and your impact grow. Jumping into some details regarding the grant. So the first thing I want to touch on is the typical project design for this grant. This grant, typically what you do is you're going to connect locations to one another in order to share resources over interactive technology, such as a video connection, for instance. A lot of times you're going to be connecting multiple rural entities together to share resources, or you might be connecting rural entities to what is called a hub site, which could be rural or urban. It doesn't really matter, but the hub site is going to serve as the service provider. A lot of times with higher education institutions, the higher education institution might serve as the hub. And again, you might have, maybe your location is in a larger metro area, but maybe you're connecting with satellite campuses or rural high schools throughout the state to send out services. There is also an option to send out services to mobile units like ambulances, mobile learning stations, and you can also contact people in their homes. But there is a kind of extra restriction with that type of project design where the content has to actually originate from a rural site in order for that project design to make sense. But the main thing, I don't want to get into too many details about the project design. We would love to talk to you further if you'd like to explore your locations and who you work with and if your project can work and be competitive under this grant. But I think the big takeaway is physical location is really important for this grant program. That is a big factor in how you are scored. And if you have a consultation with us, that's usually one of the first things we ask is where are you located and where are the individuals and the communities you're trying to reach located?
And Vicki, Tina has some great questions in the Q&A, and I just want to float one, which is there a way to find out if organizations have received the grant in the past, and is that important for applying in the future?
There is a way, so you can go to the USDA website. I can actually, well, I don't know if we have time to show you this, but if you go to their website, there's a To Apply tab, and we can send this to you afterwards, and you can see previous awardees of this grant. The only thing I would say is, if you're working with somebody who did apply for this program and get this funding recently, you want to have a really strong non-duplication statement in your application, essentially explaining how this is different from their prior project, that it's not duplicating services, that it's a different initiative. Awesome, great question. So some details here regarding the budget. This is a 3-year grant. There is a match that's required. It's 15% of your grant request, which ends up being about 13% of your total project costs. And I'll give an example here. So historically, the grant amount you can ask for is between $50,000 and $1 million. So let's say you're asking for that maximum grant amount of $1 million. That means your match would be 15% of that million, meaning your match would be $150,000. So that's why essentially the total project budget you can have for a RUS DLT grant, again, historically, unless they change anything, is $1.15 million. And again, very technology focused. So this grant is not going to be great for personnel or general supplies or renovating buildings, but it's really great for interactive technology, oftentimes video conferencing hardware, software, associated services like installation, maintenance warranties. All of that works really well under this program. And timing wise, again, usually this grant will come out every year. Currently, the application window for this grant is not open, but we're expecting that application window to open fairly soon, likely December, January, kind of late 2023, early 2024. Once the application window does open, though, it's pretty quick. It's only 60 days to apply. And some of these projects can take time, especially if you're looking to work with external organizations, maybe many partners. So it's great to start early. It's great that you're here today. I mean, I think this is an excellent time to be exploring one of these projects. But just know, again, if this year is a little bit rushed, this grant does recur. So it's always something you can look at in the future. And then I just have here a few popular project examples that we've seen in higher education. I do really want to stress that this is not an exhaustive list. These are just a few examples of projects. Again, this grant is very open-ended in terms of who you can partner with. It's also very open-ended in how it defines both distance learning and telemedicine. So for instance, you'll see here some of the options I list are about sharing formal courses, but you don't have to share formal courses in order for something to qualify as distance learning under this grant. It could be a much more informal sharing of content. So we see a lot of higher education projects involving working with satellite campuses that are in rural areas, or maybe working with other higher education institutions in order to expand your course offerings and your program offerings to your students. Another really popular project example is we see a lot of higher education institutions working with high schools in rural communities to offer dual credit or dual enrollment programs. You might offer these currently and maybe want to expand those. Maybe you want to get additional high schools working with you, or maybe you want to offer courses that you don't currently offer. This is a really great program for that. We see a lot of projects in this workforce development, kind of adult education space, a lot of projects for technical certifications, apprenticeships. You can work with industry partners, maybe in your local region or in your state. We see a lot of courses being offered in just general public spaces in rural communities, such as libraries and community centers. A lot of times in really small communities, those are really the only places you can go to get resources. So we see a lot of higher education institutions working with places like that. Healthcare education, because it is a distance learning and or telemedicine grant, healthcare education has always really been very big for this program. We see a lot of RN to BSN programs. As a higher education institution, you might partner with healthcare providers, maybe throughout your state, like small rural hospitals, and offer programs to the nurses there where they can participate in courses at their place of work so that they can keep working and still get their degree. We also see a lot of field work and practicum for healthcare students. So maybe if you have some nursing students, let's say at your campus, and again, maybe your campus is in a large metro area, but you want to work with small rural clinics in surrounding communities, you can offer your students the opportunity to have really impactful field experience working, from your campus in the metro area and providing telemedicine services to individuals located in those rural communities. And lastly, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ham.
Yeah, I just these questions happened a little bit ago. I've been waiting for so I'm taking us back. Trish has a great question. Does your match have to also be tech focused, and is it in kind allowed for cost share?
This grant technically, it does allow in-kind match, but it defines in-kind differently than a lot of other grant programs. The only things that can count as in-kind match are the same things you can put in your project budget. So you can't count personnel time, for instance, as an in-kind match contribution. This grant historically does prefer a cash match. So when possible, we do encourage applicants to commit to a cash match. And I do just want to say, we will respond to these questions. I know we have kind of some limited time. So anything we don't get to right now, again, we'll hopefully get to it at the end. And I'll also be chatting once I finish up here in just a couple minutes.
Perfect. I won't interrupt you then.
No, awesome. No, thank you so much, Ham. The last piece here, and we do see this a lot, is community education. This can really be, whatever you all currently do or are looking to do. Again, we just have some popular focus areas here for what we often see in community education. But again, maybe you partner with rural schools and libraries, community centers, and you offer all kinds of, just general communication, be it healthcare education, mental health education, basics of the legal system. We've seen some of those types of courses as well. So just very exciting. And again, very open-ended. It does not have to be formal courses. It could be just kind of general information sharing, collaboration that can work really well here. And then I'll just finish up with a couple next steps. So we really do encourage you to reach out to our team if you want to explore this program for your organization, or we can see if perhaps there's another grant program that's coming up that would be a better fit for your organization. If this RUS DLT grant isn't the ideal fit, please, again, reach out to grants@zoom.us. If you do want to pursue a RUS DLT grant, one of the first things we recommend is just to think about your vision. So just simply put, what is your project about? Do you want to have both an educational component and a telemedicine component? And who are you going to work with? And sometimes that takes a while to figure out. So who are you working with internally? What departments, what programs, and are you going to work with external individuals as well? And the next bit that is important to think about, as I said, location of your project sites is really crucial for this grant. So good to think about that early. Again, our team can definitely help you figure out if your locations are competitive for this grant. But again, just something that it's going to impact so many parts of your budget, your competitiveness, and your narrative. So really great to start thinking about this very early. Awesome. Okay, so again, grants@zoom.us. I'm going to start responding to more of your questions here, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Myrella.
Thank you, Vicki, so much. Now let's go ahead and imagine that you warranted the grant. Congratulations, this is exciting. Now what? How does this all come into play? Well, Zoom can play a big part in ensuring that you're providing that telehealth or distance learning education to these rural areas. In fact, right out of the gate, when we walk into perhaps your main lobby areas, now of course this is a corporate environment, but imagine, use the art of the possible here and think about your environment. What we have here is a Zoom room appliance. Now for all the Zoom rooms to be functional, you need a computer, a dedicated computer, a camera, a microphone, a display, speakers, and a controller. In this instance, we have that all consolidated into one single device. What we have the option is leveraging the Zoom Room software to push out a virtual receptionist experience in your lobby. So what I can do here, self-navigated by the end user, it can be fully customizable for your environment. Now let's say I'm at the university and I want to speak to a counselor. I can easily select that option from one of the considerations. I also, let's say I'm here to talk to the front office and I'm a student, I'm ready to take my ACT test. Let's go ahead and show you how simple it is for me to interact.
Hello there. How can I help?
Hi, I'm here to take my ACT test.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for checking in. You're all set.
Thanks. All right, so that was one example of what we can do. Now, what I am going to highlight next is the actual technology in the room. A Zoom Rooms has a lot of flexibility. In fact, it even comes with a room scheduling option that is included as part of the licensing. That way you can easily navigate around the office. But we're talking about the RUS DLT grant and the hardware that you can actually get approved. In our instance, welcome to a conference room environment. Comfortably seats 12 to 13 people, but the Zoom Rooms are very flexible and we can find the appropriate hardware to fit each one of your instances. In this case, it's a large conference room. What we have supplied here, again, the all-in-one concept, it's very simple to deploy, it's very cost efficient, it makes it so it's much more scalable than the previous setup with, codecs, integrated ceiling microphones, etc. It's not to say that we don't support that today. 100,000% we most certainly do. But let me show you in this environment what's possible from the all-in-one. Again, it consolidates the speakers, the microphone, the compute. It's all here, meaning you can plug and play directly into your TV, and that's that simple. All right, now you've got the installation process is incredibly streamlined. What I'm going to do next is show you the experience from the hardware itself, and what I'm going to do is come in and pair my mobile device to the room. By doing so, I have the full functionality that's available on the controller at my convenience on my phone.
All right, and as you witness here, I have the option to one click to join. I can also chat. This is a real collaborative experience option that you can provide to your end user, right? Now, what you also are noticing here in this room, we do have additional visibility of what's happening in the room with the Zoom Room running on a companion mode. This allows me to not only have additional visibility because it's a display, I can actually see the participants, etc. For collaboration purposes, I can also tie in whiteboarding. Let's say we want to talk about some algebra, some easy math. Not only can I collaborate here, but question for you, remote users, what's the answer? This is completely bi-directional. So whatever it is that I do here, my participants remotely can also use. And because our rooms are supported And we have this huge tie-in, all in the cloud. Very little AV is needed. In fact, Zoom Rooms is someone using our own AV solution in the cloud to just pair the hardware, right? If content is being shared in this room, this is also an overflow area for me and my participants. Let's also completely change the experience here in the room from an audience point of view. What we've got here is this all-in-one, and what you just saw was a very long bowling alley view of the conference room table, taking up 70% of what's happening. Now, if I select auto framing, notice that even though I have outside participants in this glass wall, they're not being broadcasted into the experience because the hardware can keep the integrity of what's happening here. Now, what I can also do is select speaker focus on the controller to also activate additional hardware in the room, such as this case, we've got a center table device, right? And as you notice here, we've got both myself and Ed providing much better meeting equity.
Yeah, what you're viewing here is the Logi Site. It is a companion device to the Rally Bar. It is a very, very cool, inexpensive way to bring multi-camera experience to a room such as this. We have other experiences we're going to show you, but this is one of your options.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are hardware agnostic here at Zoom. You have a lot of different options. Of course, Poly being one of the very popular ones that are very well received, and so many different room spaces, etc. Now what we've got here is we've got digital signage also included with the Zoom Room. Now think about your environment, how this is relevant. You want to be able to share content wirelessly to open spaces. Now you can. With digital signage, you have the option to upload content to our cloud and disperse that information to all of your digital signage players, as well as the Zoom Rooms itself. No additional hardware is needed there. In this case, you do need the hardware that supports Zoom Room to push out digital signage, and the standalone could be a simple compute, upload videos, etc. You can even stream any Zoom meetings to digital signage. Now you've got overflow areas if you need to broadcast an event, for instance. All right, you also can tie it in with Zoom Phone, and that's essentially the style of warning that you get. At the end of the day, you manage everything that you're witnessing today in one single portal, which is your Zoom dashboard. All right, let's go ahead and continue here. What I am about to show you next, again, really is around the collaboration and the art of the possible in even larger spaces. There is the right hardware that you can most certainly use in all of your spaces. And again, we're focusing the all-in-one because of its scalability, affordability, and the quality of what you get from a single device. I want to show you a couple of things that you can also achieve in the Zoom Room that's part of the collaboration that you have available. One, direct guest join. Right here you have the option from the Zoom Room to join a Google Meet meeting, Microsoft Teams meetings, and Cisco WebEx. Not only can you one click to join into those meetings by simply inviting the Zoom Room with a native integration, you can also impromptu get to the shortcuts on the screen. Another one is eliminate additional speaker phones entirely from your spaces by enabling Zoom Phone in your Zoom Room. Now you can leverage the built-in hardware as well as our licensing models to go ahead and make phone calls, eliminate the corner of your floors, etc. Right? Very simple. You also have the whiteboarding that you have accessible. So one, you can go ahead and access it locally. I'm not in a meeting. I can collaborate. I can start creating new whiteboards right out of the gate. Maybe it's tic-tac-toe. It doesn't matter. Whatever I do here, I can also incorporate artificial intelligence if needed to allow me to, let's say, create a cookie recipe. This is all part of the solution that you get with the licensing. You can use it or not, it's just available for you. Now, what's really also relevant about our whiteboards, it's a perpetual space, is something that you can revisit at any time and collaborate with your peers. Even if you start a local whiteboard, you can elevate it to video or simply scan the QR code, save it to your profile, and you can access it at another time. In our case, I want to go ahead and discard. You also have the option to share content completely wirelessly in your Zoom room, removing the need of additional cabling that you would have to otherwise install and have available at the desk and even the podium. Whatever it is that I am broadcasting here, it does support full video and audio. I can go ahead and share locally as well as during the actual meeting itself. I can even annotate on top of that content, allowing my participants to be captivated with the storytelling that's happening in the space. Very well. Okay, all of that is available. One click to join with our integration with the calendar, Office 365, Exchange, and Google. Now I can also select that or say, hello Zoom, join meeting.
Do you want to join the meeting?
Yes.
Starting the meeting. Recording in progress.
Now once here, yes, I can share content wirelessly. Of course, I can do the whiteboarding. I can even share a document camera, which is HDMI, and put directly into the all-in-one. I can, let's say, showcase this chipset in great detail. Notice that we have a Zoom Room companion mode in this open space as well. As a result, the content that's being shared in the room is also being highlighted in the additional monitors. And again, no actual cable and installation was truly needed here. Now I can show whatever it is that I need to. I can also, on the podium, I have additional camera input. I have the additional content as confidence monitor. I see what's happening, and I can also see the input of my virtual participants. All right, let's take you to our next stop. On this next stop, we are taking the approach of let's make sure that everyone in your spaces have meeting equity. With Zoom Rooms, you're able to support multiple streams and multiple cameras. Let's bring that together in what we call intelligent director, leveraging 3 cameras as you see here on the wall, and show you the experience with one click to join. Let's do it. All right, so let's take the approach that we've got various different board members, and congratulations on your board team. You've got Angelina Jolie apparently and some others, but they're not all visible. And this is a view that you would get if you're using one single camera source. Now let's go ahead and using the controller on the table, let's select multi-stream, which is a Zoom Room's ability to use artificial intelligence to scan the room, to add those additional streams to bring meeting equity into the space. It's greatly, highly elevated experience, but it's not good enough. So let's select Intelligent Director next. We are now inviting those 2 additional cameras in the room with the power of artificial intelligence to scan the room and ensure that all of those individuals are indeed in the space and have that meeting equity as well. You'll see here that through that scan, we can see Ed, we can see Taylor Swift, and we can bring all of that in a gallery view where everyone has much better democratization as well. As I walk in the back of the room now, your instructors, your students, your board members don't need to know how to use the technology per se. As you witness from me going from one space to the next, we have greatly reduced
any friction in the space. The user interface is consistent across the board. And even here, as I am in the very back of the room, I didn't have to touch anything. The hardware does all of the heavy lifting alongside of the Zoom Room software. Even if I become obstructed from one camera view versus the other, it does that auto switching without me touching a thing. And with that, that pretty much concludes my demo, Vicky. I think now it's Dr. Lance's turn. Hamilton, did we have any questions pop up?
Hey, everybody. Dr. Ford here. Thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to be a part of our webinar today. Sorry I couldn't join us live, but one of the things that is a powerful part of Zoom in distance learning is the ability to take these live moments and transpose them into on-demand experiences. So whether it's in a K-12 environment, whether it's in a higher ed environment, or whatever environment you're looking for to pursue that grant, part of the power, again, is being able to say there are so many learning modalities that we need to be able to address multiples. However, for most faculty members, they get intimidated by the technology because the technology really is the concept that becomes the content of the course and not just the conduit of the course. How does Zoom address this? Well, let me show you real quick, because I think as we go through this, this may make a little more sense. One of the places that most faculty members live and spend the majority of their time is their learning management system. Now, our learning management system here, I'm going to show you today, happens to be Canvas, but it could be Blackboard, it could be Desire to Learn, it could be Schoology, Moodle. It's really a potato thing, as long as it's LTI. So I'm logged in here directly into the LMS, and you see my announcements, my assignments, my discussions. At marketplace.zoom.us, my administrator set up for me the plugin that allows me to have Zoom with Dr. Ford. So I'm going to go ahead and just click that. Now, once I click that, I'm presented with the opportunity to schedule a new meeting. One of the things I do at the college is I teach adjunct. And so I'm teaching music appreciation this fall and actually next spring as well. So let's just make it music appreciation. Better put my glasses on so I can screw this up. In this Canvas instance, this is actually course section and group aware. So maybe this live meeting is for multiple sections or just this section, or maybe it's just for a group of students from my Canvas course. How about the on-demand viewing? Well, same thing. It can either be by all courses or by just this course, this section. Maybe it's different groups that can watch the recording. All that's available here. When does the meeting start? Well, let's just pretend it starts at 3 o'clock today. It's an hour long. I don't know how your courses work, but mine work on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday schedule. And the end of my semester, fortunately, is not Christmas. It's December the 15th, so we'll set it there. Now, faculty members may have been given a room that they would like, that they're assigned to teach in, or maybe there's a lab or something they'd like to use as a part of this class meeting. I can simply go in and type in the name of that classroom that I've been given to teach. There it is. So when I get in, well, I'm not going to tell you. We'll just look at it here in just a second. From there, we can say we want to pre-assign breakouts for our course, and maybe we want to use those course groups once again as the genesis for those breakouts. And I like to record my classes so students who maybe physically can't make it or maybe just are not there can go back and review it. We'll hit save. Now, in this particular world, sometimes faculty members are ill themselves, or maybe they're on the road at a conference. They need to teach that course online from Canvas. They can do that by starting here. Or since we've been assigned a classroom and that space has been outfitted with some of these amazing grant dollars, we have the ability to just go right on over to it. So let's take a quick walk over to the classroom. Here's my little poly unit, poly HP unit that's been assigned to this classroom, making it a Zoom room. And it's attached to a touchscreen. And it says music appreciation will automatically start in 3 minutes. Now, why does it say automatically start? Some faculty members are technophobic enough to the point where they just don't want to touch anything. And that's just fine from Zoom rooms. We can automatically start. We can automatically stop. We can give the administrator of the room remote control to be able to mute and unmute microphones if necessary to really help facilitate that. But I think you'll see real quickly once we get this started, you'll also see my nasty, messy office, that there's really not a lot of intervention that the faculty has to do. I'm not going to wait for the next 2 minutes and make you wait. I'm just going to go ahead and fire it off. So we're starting a meeting that has that music of pre-meeting. Now, Zoom is never going to record anyone unless Zoom lets you know you're being recorded. So, hey, we got that. We're being recorded. The camera comes on. The camera will locate me. The camera will begin to track me around the space and find where I'm standing so that as I present to my learners here, as well as my learners there, then everyone knows what it looks like here in space. Now, there are multiple poly units that support multiple cameras as well. Some of them are all-in-ones. Some of them are full-on room-based systems based on HP Compute. You just need to talk to your folks who are helping you plan
Mr.
your
Lawson,
space as to
Dr.
how you
Wilson here.
expect to engage
We got the results
in
of your
that
lab
space.
tests back, and it seems you have a rare
Regardless
case
of
of
what the
synthetic
form factor looks like,
plasticosis.
one of the things that's
The good news
important for
is
me
you'll outlast us
is
all
that
by
I can give
hundreds of
polls and
thousands of
quizzes.
years.
Those quizzes,
We'd like to
I'm
get a
gonna
closer look
fire
at your
one off.
condition. We will transfer over to the
Those
medical
quizzes
department.
and hit the speed grader, the results do, and they can be gone right on into my speed grader so that I can add them to my gradebook inside Canvas. Another thing that I have the ability to do is whiteboard. So once I open up a whiteboard, I can determine, do I want my students to be able to collaborate with me, or is this just more of a, they're going to watch, and then periodically I'll give them the ability to collaborate. Okay. So we're firing off a whiteboard. These whiteboards can be created as a part of the live experience on the fly, utilizing either a blank sheet of paper or one of over 200 templates. They can be created before class, because with whiteboards, they no longer just live during the live meeting. They live before, they live during, and they live after. So students can make modifications or maybe ask questions on that information. I'm going to bring up some notes here, and we'll just say, hello, this will be my notes for today's class. Hello, webinar, right? So now I've given a quiz, I've given some notes, we recorded all that, and class is over. Come back over to my desk, because the synergy between the live experience, oh, there it goes, it automatically joined, sorry about that. The synergy between the live class and the asynchronous portions of class is just really seamless for the faculty member. You go right here and share the screen one more time. So now we're back after class into our learning management system. The whiteboard, you remember I said hello webinar on a whiteboard? Here's my whiteboards. There's my hello webinar. I'd like for my students that are part of this particular group project to be able to see it later, maybe make modifications, or at least be able to comment on it. So now it's here, so when they come and log in, they can actually engage with the whiteboard. If I know that some of these concepts are going to be difficult for my learners, and maybe I need to schedule some time for us to get together, all that scheduling capability is built in. In fact, I can edit the schedule. I've chosen mine to be 10:45 to 11:45 on Mondays, and they're 15-minute blocks. Student comes in, chooses a time. Both they and I get an email with a unique Zoom link for our time together. What about knowing who attended the class? Well, it's built in. There's the report right there. I can click that report and get a student name, what time they joined, how long they were there. And if it's important enough to me, I can actually make that a part of my attendance report directly back into my Canvas gradebook. You were here 100% of the time, you get 100% of the points. You joined 5 minutes late, you get 90% of the points. You can add whatever ranges you want as a part of this. Next, what about those recordings? Well, they're right here. I have the ability to come in and just turn those on so the students can come in and watch the content. I have the ability to see how many times this has been downloaded, how many times has it been viewed, who viewed it, what days, what time frames. If you're doing that flipped or inverted lesson process where you're creating content before learners get there that they're watching, this is so wonderful to have. Now, you may not decide to do what I'm about to show you, but part of the power here is Zoom is an entire communications platform that does not rule out phone. So maybe I need the ability to SMS my learners, or maybe I need to be able to call my learners to engage with them. I call them and it appears to them as if I'm calling directly from the school's number. Everything is logged, all the information, all the engagements, all the files that are shared in a chat, they're all logged as a part of that correspondence. So everyone knows who said what, when they said it, and no one is ever falsely accused of doing anything. So we've talked a little bit about, from a perspective from San Jose, what this looks like on a campus. You've now seen it from a day in the life of me as the instructor. Victoria, over to you.
please reach out to us again, grants@zoom.us, and we'll answer whatever questions you have. But thank you so much for joining us today.